Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. You are watching HumSub.TV and I am Muneeb Hamid with the news in English. 2 dead and 3 injured as security force vehicle comes under attack in North Waziristan. 2 men belonging to the security forces lost their lives while 3 others were injured on Wednesday when their vehicle was targeted in Mir Ali Tehsil of North Waziristan. According to sources, the 3 injured men have been transferred to a combined military hospital nearby. Political administrations of the area claim that terrorists fired rockets on a vehicle carrying members of the security forces at a dark area of Mir Ali Tehsil. The area where the attack occurred has been sealed and a search operation for the perpetrators of the attack is underway. The uptick in attacks targeting security forces raises questions over the efficiency of counter-terrorism operations in different parts of the country, including North Waziristan, where the army was said to have cleared the area of the presence of terrorists under Operation Zarb-e-Azab, which was launched in June 2014. At least 15 people, including 8 military and paramilitary personnel, were killed in 4 separate attacks in North Waziristan in past 2 months. Contempt case. Supreme Court gives Danial Aziz 10 days to arrange for a lawyer. The Supreme Court on Wednesday gave PMLN leader Danial Aziz 10 days to arrange for a lawyer to defend him in the suo motu contempt case against him. Aziz had been issued a notice for contempt of court for an anti-judiciary speech made by him. The notice did not specify which speech had prompted the action. The PMLN leader on Wednesday informed the court that he was unaware of why he had been summoned, at which Justice Azmat Saeed responded that nothing inappropriate will happen in the case and all details will come forward soon. The hearing was adjourned until February 19 after Aziz was given time to arrange for his lawyer. It is pertinent to mention that following last year's Panama Papers judgment in which Nawaz Sharif was disqualified, members of the ruling party, including Aziz, on a number of occasions have launched unprecedented verbal attacks on the country's judiciary, accusing it of having different standards for the former Prime Minister than for his opponents. 15-year-old cousin arrested for murder of Mardan minor girl, Inspector General Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. A 15-year-old second cousin of the 4-year-old Mardan girl found dead in a field in January was arrested by the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa police for his suspected involvement in alleged rape and murder of the minor. Inspector General Police Khyber Pakhtunkhwa Salahuddin Masood said the suspects have confessed to his crimes. Speaking to the media in Peshawar, he said that the suspect in the blind case was traced using DNA samples obtained from a single drop of blood found on a leaf near the crime scene. The IG claimed that it was a case of attempted rape before murder. However, a forensic report issued by the Punjab Forensic Science Agency had earlier confirmed that the girl was raped before she was murdered. Trump tells Pentagon to plan military parade in Washington. U.S. President Donald Trump has asked the Pentagon to organize a large military parade in the nation's capital. The president made the request to top military chiefs in late January after reportedly being impressed by a French Bastille Day parade last year. Military displays in Washington, D.C. are usually only used to mark victory at the end of a war. Democrats compared the plan to displays of military might organized by autocratic nations. United States launches new air attacks against Taliban. U.S. bombers have struck multiple Taliban targets in a new air offensive over the past 4 days in far northeastern Afghanistan near the China and Tajikistan borders, the Southern Command said Tuesday. The strikes hit Taliban training facilities in Badakhshan province, preventing the planning and rehearsal of terrorist acts. The Southern Command said in a statement the bombing also destroyed vehicles that it said the Taliban took from the Afghan National Army and were turning into vehicle-borne explosive devices. The strikes were carried out in part by a U.S. Air Force B-52 Stratow Fortress, which dropped 24 guided munitions. The Southern Command, which oversees U.S. military activities in the Middle East and Afghanistan, said it continues to carry out strikes against Taliban and its support networks in Helmand province in the south of the country as well. Strikes and raids by U.S. and Afghan forces have resulted in the removal of more than $30 million of Taliban revenue since the campaign began in November 2017, the command said. United States arrests Saudi with Qaeda ties who sought pilot license. U.S. authorities said on Tuesday they had arrested a long-time Saudi resident of Oklahoma who had trained with al-Qaeda and taught flying lessons. The Department of Justice said Naif Abdulaziz Al-Falaj, 34, applied in 2000 to attend the same al-Qaeda militant camp in Afghanistan called Al-Farouk, where several of the September 11 hijackers had trained. He came to the United States in 2011 on a non-immigrant visa, traveling with his wife, who was a student. In 2016, he took pilot lessons at an Oklahoma flight school, the Justice Department said. He was only discovered recently after investigators matched 15 fingerprints found on a document recovered by U.S. military from an al-Qaeda safe house in Afghanistan in 2001 with his fingerprints in official U.S. records. Taiwan earthquake. Series of powerful aftershocks hit Hualien. Aftershocks continue to rattle Taiwan after a strong earthquake that killed at least 4 people and injured more than 200 others. The powerful 6.4 magnitude tremor struck at 2350, about 20 kilometers off the island's east coast. Multiple buildings across the city of Hualien have been badly damaged. More than 140 people still remain unaccounted for from one building. Hualien, a popular tourist hub, is home to about 100,000 people. Residents in the city of Hualien have been told to stay away from their damaged homes, and about 800 have taken shelter in community buildings because of the aftershocks. Images from the city showed tidal structures, scattered debris, and extensive damage to roads in the area. The Yunman Suti building, which has residential and commercial floors, is tilting to one side after sustaining major damage. About 143 of its residents remain unaccounted for, local media said. Rescuers on Wednesday morning were still working to reach at least 5 other people who are thought to be trapped in buildings, including 2 believed to be stuck inside the Marshall Hotel. Street protests banned in Bangladesh ahead of Khalida Zia verdict. Bangladesh police banned street protests on Tuesday ahead of verdict against opposition leader Khalida Zia, whose party says more than 1,000 of its activists have been detained. Zia, 72, may face up to life in prison if found guilty on Thursday on charges of embezzling $252,000. Her Bangladesh Nationalist Party says police and other security forces have detained more than 1,000 of its activists and officials in a nationwide crackdown before the verdict. Dhaka Metropolitan Police said it feared opposition parties could create anarchy if she was convicted. Her party says the charges against the 2-time Prime Minister are politically motivated. Novartis bribery allegations against 10 former Greek ministers. Greek prosecutors have named 8 former ministers and 2 former prime ministers in connection with a major corruption investigation. Investigators allege the pharmaceutical company Novartis paid doctors to prescribe its drug at high prices. Prosecutors said the former politicians received bribes but did not name them. Those allegedly involved held office from 2006 to 2015. Novartis said it is cooperating with the investigation. Prosecutors believe the alleged price fixing could have cost the state billions during a financial crisis which imposed hardship on many families. Bill Cosby's lawyers plan to delay trial if other accusers testify. Bill Cosby's lawyers said Tuesday that they would seek to delay his April 2 sexual assault retrial if some of his other accusers are given a chance to testify. The 80-year-old entertainer's legal team raised the prospect of postponing the retrial in court papers that oppose a prosecution bid to let jurors hear from up to 19 other women who say Cosby drugged and molested them. Cosby's lawyers argued they would need extra time to look into the women's allegations if any of them were permitted to testify. And now the sports news. Ex-WADA chief slams IOC response to Russia doping. Former world anti-doping chief Dick Pond slammed the Olympic response to the Russian doping scandal on Tuesday, warning, "We talk more than we walk," and saying that the game's credibility had taken a serious hit. Pound was speaking at an International Olympic Committee IOC session in Gangneung, now South Korea, 3 days before the Pyeongchang Winter Games, which have been engulfing complications from Russia's drugs conspiracy. Pound's tough comments prompted a complaint from the floor that he talks too much to the press, a jibe which in turn triggered a furious response from the Canadian. And now the weather forecast for the next 24 hours. Mainly cold and dry weather is expected in most parts of the country. And that is the end of the news. For more news and updates, keep watching HumSub.TV. Please subscribe to HumSub.TV and hit the notification icon on the screen to get the latest updates of our channel. Thank you for watching HumSub.TV.